Hello, my name is Scott, and in this video, I'm going to go over what a setup debate is and how you can utilize the example setup debate in this video on the space topic to get better at debate. So, what is a setup speech? Pretty simply put, a setup speech is a drill or a setup that is meant to simulate the conditions or the environment of a actual debate without being a real debate, with you as an active participant in it. What do I mean by all of that? Pretty much what it means is you are going to give a debate speech. You are going to hear the speeches in a debate leading up until the debate that you, or the speech that you want to set up. So for instance, in the setup debate in this video, you will hear me give an AC and an NC, and the purpose for that is to set up giving a 1AR in a debate that simulates the real actual environment and conditions of an actual debate. So if you were utilizing this that way the first time, you would watch the speeches in real time, then start an actual prep timer, and then give your speech utilizing the amount of prep time that you want to use. I think that this makes it so that the drills and redos that you do have sort of a more explicit purpose, and the setup debates in particular have the purpose of you giving the next speech in whatever particular debate there is. So a lot of times for debates online, I will have debaters watch a debate online, flow a couple of speeches, and have them give the next speech in that debate. If you want to know more about setup debates, I did a whole video on them that explains kind of like the process for what I go through, how you can improve without a coach using setup debates, and some different drills that I do utilizing them that I'll link in the description below. But that's kind of beyond the confines of this video. In this video, I want to set up a debate that I'm going to use in my classes this week that is on the space topic. So you will hear an AC, you will hear an NC that are both read by me, and then you will give a 1AR in this debate. The affirmative in the debate is centered around some contentions about the Starlink satellite mega constellation affirmative that I created on this topic. And then the negative, the stuff in the NC, is some of the arguments that people put on the open source wiki that they read against us at the first tournament that we went to. So I thought that this would work as kind of a good drill to replicate some of the arguments that we might face, and that I'm going to share it with y'all so that you can utilize this to improve yourself as a debater if maybe you don't have a coach or something like that. So if you're a debater of mine, get out a sheet of flow paper. You're going to hear an AC and NC. If you're not one of my debaters, you should probably do the same thing, or you could do whatever you want to do with this. You're going to hear an AC and NC. You're going to flow that, and then you are going to have to give a 1AR. So hopefully this was helpful, and stay tuned for those two speeches. See ya. All right, so this is a 6-minute AC. Is anybody not ready? Okay. I affirm the resolution that the appropriation of outer space by private entities is unjust. The framework is maximizing expected well-being. Moral uncertainty means preventing extinction should be our highest priority. Bostrom 12. Moral uncertainty suggests our present axiology might be confused if we are uncertain. There is a great value in preserving our ability to recognize value and steer the future accordingly. Ensuring that there will be a future humanity is the best way to increase future value. Contention 1 is space debris. Mega satellite constellations in low Earth orbit by private entities, including but not limited to SpaceX's Starlink, are unjust. The Kessler syndrome is starting now, but these private mega constellations make management impossible. Boyers and Byers, 21. LEO is already in the initial stages of Kessler syndrome, but this could be managed. The addition of satellite megaconstellations stresses the environment further. Starlink will be placed in narrow orbital shells, creating congestion. OneWeb placed 146 satellites. Amazon, Telesat, GW enhanced collision risk of megaconstellations are composed of mass-produced satellites. There is a 50% chance that there will be one or more collisions. Fragmentation events lead to similar amounts of debris within that orbital shell. A cascade could occur. A major fragmentation event from a single satellite could affect all operators in LEO. There is about a 50% chance of 15 or more meteoroid impacts per year. Next is that Starlink is responsible for half of all dangerous space near collisions. Full mega constellations can make collisions 10 times more likely, and debris avoidance software doesn't check. Poltrova in 21. SpaceX's Starlink satellites alone are involved in 1,600 close encounters, accounts for over half of all encounters. Once Starlink launches 12,000 satellites, Starlink will be involved in 90% of all close approaches. On average, an operator managing about 50 satellites will receive up to 300 official conjunction alerts a week. The size of this catalog is expected to increase 10 times in the near future. There is not enough information sharing between parties. If a collision happens, you can't maneuver everything. Most maneuvers we see will involve Starlink. SpaceX relies on autonomous collision avoidance systems. Starlink are not making a lot of small adjustments all the time that causes problems because no one knows where the satellites are actually going to be. And SpaceX does whatever it wants and refuses to listen to anybody. Silverman, 21. The EU took the potential collision a lot more seriously than Starlink, was only able to contact Starlink via email, and the company told them they would take no action. SpaceX are putting too many satellites up too quickly. 3 different satellite communicators went bankrupt in 3 months. SpaceX has followed Musk's instinct. Automated system isn't useful when avoiding collisions. Musk is just doing what's not safe. And these collisions with military satellites would risk miscalculation under use it or lose it pressure, which would cause global nuclear war. Ageli in 21. Increased tension, satellite stops functioning or communicating. This may be the outcome of a collision with space debris. SSA is not comprehensive to detect all movements. Decision makers, could this be a nuclear first strike? Should the defender react immediately before the remaining space-enabled NC3 elements are compromised? And space debris causes China miscalculation and U.S.-China nuclear war. Zenko in 14. Growth in space debris could render portions of outer space unnavigatable. An accident could trigger a major international crisis between the U.S. and China. Both countries have no pre-space launch notification arrangements. Management could be hindered by a lack of direct communication. And debris could also cause a U.S.-Russia nuclear war. Lewis in 4. Russia stopped its pledge to refrain from first use. Moscow might use nuclear weapons preemptively. What would happen if debris were hit a Russian early warning satellite? Russians would make a judgment called the U.S. does not maintain a system that would allow it to distinguish between a debris strike attack, market attack. Contention 2 is asteroids. Mega constellations like Starlink make astronomy during astronomical twilight impossible, which moots asteroid detection. Fish in 20. Starlink makes spotting city killers difficult. Starlink has impacted the vital search for new asteroids. 12,000 is going to make it very difficult. Asteroids are close, meaning astronomers have to look as soon as the sun sets, but this period is exactly when the Starlink satellites are illuminated. Satellites are still reflecting the sun, leaving a bloody great streak across your image that will make this science difficult. And asteroids cause extinction, and without top-notch detection technology, a hit is inevitable. Dreyer in 21. What once was preventable becomes inevitable. As we emerge from the worst of COVID-19, low probability, high impact events do occur. The really big ones can be catastrophic. Mass extinction, city killer asteroids hit us every few thousand years. We've only found about a third of these. Finding them is hard. The Rubin Observatory will greatly assist in asteroid detection. Mega constellations threaten to overwhelm our view of these dim objects and make asteroid detection more difficult. There is no higher impact disaster than an asteroid collision. And finally, the risk of asteroids supersedes every impact because human cognitive reluctance prevents acknowledging its propensity for extinction. Koplow in 19. Question not whether Earth will be struck by an asteroid, but when. Consequences of such collision demonstrates all of human civilization, as well as all life may hang in bounds. Market bounds. And that is the end of the AC, and then the NC is coming up next. All right, so the order for the NC is going to be 3 off-case positions, then the affirmatives contention 1, and then the affirmatives contention 2. So, is anybody not ready? First, the Russia appeasement disadvantage. Russia hates Starlink. Smith in 21. One country that most definitely does not want Starlink is Russia. Russia is considering legislation to impose fines upon any individual or company that signs up for Starlink. Russia's security object that a foreign satellite network would be immune from surveillance under Russia's legislation. They suspect that Starlink is a part of a U.S. government plot to advance American military interests. And we stopped appeasing Russia. They'll pocket concessions from co-op and increase aggression. Tensions aren't the results of understandings, but hardened differences. Haddad in 18. Obama's reset was keeping with optimistic attempts. U.S.-Russia disagreements were not misunderstandings, but grievances. Russia deserved equal standing. What Obama saw was gestures of goodwill. Russia interpreted as U.S. retreat. Moscow pocketed concessions. The Kremlin was exploiting opportunity. Trump appointed competent figures to manage Russia from the Hill. Mitchell, Trump is pushing back. The NSS singles out Russia as a key rival. Trump approved weapons to Ukraine, shut down Russia's consulate, sanctions, expanded LNG sales, increased ERI 40%. The U.S. is taking concrete steps to strengthen Europe against Russia, has been the first in the post-Cold War to not try for a reset. Putin wanted confusion in Washington. He succeeded. If he wanted a pliant ally, he objectively failed. And appeasing Russia shreds the NPT and causes nuclear proliferation, which causes extinction. Umland in 17. A friendlier U.S. approach toward Moscow would have serious consequences for the rest of the world. The U.S. tolerance of Russia's violation of Ukrainian territorial integrity would have larger implications for the future of humanity. To appease Moscow would be another crack in the non-proliferation regime. Acquiescence to Russia would further undermine the NPT. Under Budapest, Russia, the UK, and the U.S. assured involatility of Ukraine's borders. Moscow violated Budapest. The agreement forms an important annex of the NPT. Its violation and undermines the logic of the mechanism to prevent the spread of atomic weapons. Beijing and Paris assisted Russia. The U.S. appeasement of Russia would compound earlier aberrations. The UK would be the only guarantor left. The second off-case position is the internet disadvantage. First is that Starlink is crucial to global internet access. This is Koister in 20. Splinternet, the ongoing division of a worldwide interconnected internet into separate and isolatable fiefdoms, each of which can be controlled and managed. China, Iran, Syria, and Vietnam control significant portions of the internet. Russia just walled off its internet users. India is blocking off the internet entirely. It allows governments to control what people see, read, and hear from outside sources and censor. Starlink can change all of that. It will enable access to free global internet from anywhere on the planet. Governments will make the Starlink terminal illegal. That itself will be a victory. Censorship works best when it is invisible. When a device to connect to the outside world becomes contraband, people realize that the walls have been erected to prevent them from seeing other options. Maintaining a free, open, accessible internet globally should help combat fake news, propaganda, and information deprivation aimed at controlling populations. Next is that free internet is crucial to the promotion of democracy. Piranajed in 17. This study attempts to examine the effects of internet extension on democracy promotion by using the panel consisting of 122 countries from 2000 to 2014. Internet extension has significantly positive effect on democracy promotion, and democracy promotion is key to prevent global power war. GATT in 11. the post-Cold War moment be fleeting. The triumph of capitalism spelled the ultimate victory of democracy. This notion is fast eroding the return of capitalist, non-democratic great powers. China, Russia, assuming an increasingly authoritarian character. The return of capitalist, non-democratic powers might indicate that the democratic hegemony could be short-lived and that a universal democratic peace may still be far off. As China grows in power, it is likely to become more assertive. There is the prospect of more antagonistic relations, accentuated ideological rivalry potential, and actual conflict and intensified arms race. The third off-case position is the broadband DA. First is that Starlink is key to global broadband. Menon in 21. SpaceX's Starlink has a clear first-mover advantage, the largest network in orbit, license applications pending in several other countries. Starlink's satellite broadband service managed to provide a comparable experience to fixed-base internet service. Starlink, as the only satellite broadband service provider in the U.S., offered fixed broadband, emerging as a source of alternative broadband service. Starlink's satellite is up and running by September, and this broadband is critical to American agriculture. Duval in 18. Americans farmers need reliable, high-speed internet, absolute necessity to ensure farmers use the latest precision agricultural equipment. Farmers gain a giant foothold in new markets, information to maximize yields. Ag requires a broadband connection for data collection and analysis, essential to help communities access services. And that would cause great power war. Costello in 17. The U.S. faces threats such as ISIS and wars from North Korea and Iran, Russia, and China. Reliable food supplies, prices produce stable countries. Food insecurity drives mass migration, generating conflict. Strong ag is a requirement for stability. Emerging markets purchase 20% of U.S. ag exports, and that is expected to grow. These deteriorate into shooting wars. Case. First, their framework, we agree with their framework. It's about maximizing expected well-being. Their contention 1, debris. There's no debris cascades, but even in the worst case scenario, it'll be confined to low Earth orbit with no impact. Phage in 17. Kessler is overhyped. A course of commentators are wrong. Low LEO, things burn up quickly. High LEO, where junk orbits, mid-orbit GPS and navsats here. Volume is so huge and numbers so few, we don't need to worry. GEO is satellites moving the same speed. Also, only 1 per 1,000 kilometers is not the problem here. Second analytical argument, there's going to be no miscalculation from space to debris. No reason a country would use all of their nuclear weapons over one satellite being lost when they have lots of other satellites. Contention 2, asteroids. The chance of asteroids is tiny, and there's no extinction. Walker in 16. A large asteroid hit Earth doesn't mean the extinction of humans. We are not due for an extinction. Next giant impact is most likely to happen millions of years into the future. There is almost zero chance of a giant impact in the next century. We can be 99.9% sure that there isn't an extinction-level asteroid headed our way. We know the orbits of all near-Earth comets is like 1 in 1 million per century. So far into the future, it makes no difference. Thank you, and please vote for the neg. So that was the NC, and that is the last video or segment in this video for the setup debate series that I have here. So I encourage you, well, if you're my debater, go do your setup debate right now. If you're not my debater, I encourage you, use these 2 speeches. Go do this setup debate right now. Record yourself. See if you can improve. Do another speech. Give yourself your own feedback. Do all of the sort of tips and tricks that I provided in the intro and in the other video in the description below. So hopefully this was helpful and you'll keep turning in to other videos. So thanks. See you next time.